G'day friends and fans, welcome to Dave Talk Stuff. Alright, in my previous video we talked about women begging for dates. That is, women on TikTok begging men live streaming for dates. Now this is a follow-on from that. It's called the attention economy. Now, attention-starved women are begging men because that is how the economy now works. Those with the most attention on social media make the most money. It is a very simple economy, and the only thing that defeats the attention economy is intelligence. If you have high intelligence, you will realize that these attention-starved women have no interest in anything beyond dating. Now, women are begging men to take notice of them in public. It was not long ago that women were begging men to stop ogling them, catcalling them, or asking them for their phone number. But now that they're attention-starved, ironic, isn't it? The ones who go out in public are attention-starved, but then they go on TikTok and beg for dates. I know, but it reflects the changing of society. All right. For now, 86% of women still want a man to make the first move, while men are actively appreciating the fact that they can pretty much live relatively in peace without women hassling them, because the majority of women will not initiate a conversation with a man. So we live in a society where it's difficult to establish romantic interest. And, of course, many women have made it such that men do not find them interesting. So, before I continue, this channel is sponsored by you, the viewing audience. And one way to help me is to buy from my store. A coffee cup, a poster, a travel mug, a latte cup, a water bottle, stainless steel water bottle, or a stainless steel travel mug. I also have some posters and bags and more things to come. So step into World of Wonder with the Empire of Elves, your one-stop shop for enchanting treasures based on my writing. Of course, why would I want to base it on someone else's? So we're living in an attention economy where those who profited off attention are now losing it. Why else would they be begging for attention if they weren't losing it? And basically, the large number of women who crave attention ultimately turn to pornography and or acting, usually both, by the way. But in current trends, still, women prefer, and it's always been like this, so women have always preferred men to show their confidence, and whether or not they're a traditional masculine entity, to man up and ask them out. But of course, what we have is, well, they call it male hesitation now. They don't use the big I word anymore, but male hesitation, about 50% of men, while being considered heterosexual, won't make the first move because they have suffered a long line of rejection. The fear of being labelled a creep has actually caused the majority of men to feel discomfort. And this isn't the only reason. Male hesitation is often put first, but it's actually the least response. The real reality is most women aren't giving the green light. Most men who've approached women who allegedly give off these, I'm interested in you, and you come over and they're like, no, I'm not. And that's the 3-second rule, right? If you notice a woman looking at you, you have 3 seconds. And in that time, she has gone through her dopamine cycle and is no longer interested in you. See, women take the initiative to grab a man's attention, but they also toy with a man's attention. And then throughout your relationship, they toy with your emotions. Because there is no fear. There is no fear of being hit. There's no fear of being rejected. There's no fear of them being thrown out. Because daddy government doesn't want to deal with all these large numbers of women, because daddy government is now a democracy. See, now, you may hate this, but the majority are not entitled to representation. The majority are either government workers, unemployed, or merely only going to vote for themselves. The decision makers have to be above the fray. Now, this was decided long ago to only give landowners and the militia the vote. Unfortunately, the government caved to the demands of pretty much the unruly, the give me now mob. Of course, there was neither the immediate back then. All the problems that people thought this would lead to did not present themselves immediately, so people should come settled in, because bad ideas in the past did not spread fast. But thanks to the attention economy, now social media exploited the attention economy. It did not start the attention economy. The attention economy started with television. Or maybe radio. Okay, let's start with radio, because radio was primarily news and music, though there were radio plays, and radio plays took the attention, but they didn't last long because television was around the corner, and a lot of people still went to the theatre because they wanted to see what was happening. So people's attention was still pretty well divided between books, the newspapers, the theatre. A lot of people got their news through social groups. So people were pretty well spread out. But somehow, television, it's really hard to explain, but television started to narrow people's interests. People were going out less. Though people were spending more, they were going out less. So the attention economy began, and plus, I suppose, with only 3 TV stations, plus or minus all the others around the world. Most countries only had one for a while. But people became increasingly divided into the channels they watched. And likewise, on the channels they watched, they had a style. And that style was often replicated in, you used to have the man in the suit, then all of a sudden you had the co-presenter. Now, for a while, I forget the name of the dress, but worn by, of course, Jackie Onassis, pretty much almost every night for nearly 20 years, the co-presenter was a pretty well-dressed woman. And for the most part, they still are. It's just you now have panels of cackling hens and the occasional man in a suit. So people, monkey see, monkey do. It was not Gen X, it was Gen Y that was being programmed. That's why there's such a gap between Y and X. Okay, it's why Gen X was, finally starting to come into their own in the 80s and 90s. Gen Y, still growing up, was programmed, and the 80s programmed them very well. Not as much as the 70s. So now what you had was a loose generation, more promiscuous than ever, more drug addicted than ever, more attention starved than ever, and they're living their lives like they're on TV, where a good-looking man will rock up, ask her what she's doing tonight, know what place to take her to, is able to drop a wad of cash as if it's nothing, drive the hottest car, go to the hottest clubs, and rock her all night long, baby. Oh, yeah. Now, I don't know where along the way, fantasy and reality diverged. And for some reason, in this attention economy, the majority follow the fantasy, believing that they will be Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast, etc. That they will be a Disney princess. So many women try to bridge this gap by smiling at you, winking, opening up by pulling their shoulders back, prolonged eye contact, rather than a direct approach, hoping it'll encourage a man to initiate a conversation with them. But here is the rube. Now, the majority of conversations with women will not end in a date, and if you go for the grab, you're often rejected simply out of reflex. So we're living in a very broken time. And it's about time the majority realize that society is broken, that feminism has won. And you're looking at the results of feminism around you. The gynocentric economy, the gynocentric elections, the women making millions off selling their body, a woman makes more money as a prostitute than the average man. That is why, and I must sincerely advise you against any contact beyond use and abuse, right? Because that's what it is. They will never love you. It's use and abuse. That's the product of the attention economy. The throwaway human. because to the government, you are a throwaway. They can't be attached to you. If they were attached to you, if they liked you, they can't send you to war. They can't they will endlessly want to meter out every comfort to you, every medical education, which they can't do. They have to manage the economy with limited resources. And it's not because the rich are eating it all. It's that women are dragging the economy down. The products that women want the government to replace man, so that they have housing and education. Because they look at the country and say, it's rich, it can afford to give us. By what mathematics is the country so rich it can afford to give 50% or 52% of the population everything it wants? That's enslaving man. And the double-edged sword of laying down, lying flat, or rejecting women is the government will bring in more families, bring in more foreigners to replace us. And it's an endless vicious cycle. Women know they can hold out because they don't love children, they don't love men, they have no love. So they don't care if they don't get married. They don't care if they don't have children. In fact, a vast majority of women approve of abortion. That is genocide. And then they always bring up the what ifs. Oh, you're forcing a woman to have a rapist baby. Pretty much. That's why he did it. And no one wants to talk about it. Men have been driven insane by these, and they wonder why no one wants to talk to them. Is it time for women to make the first move? No! It's time for women to shut up. Because they can't make up their mind what they want. They can't be polite. They can't be respectful. They can't be honourable. They cannot be honest. They cannot be faithful. And all they can do is say it's men's fault. I'm sorry, who raised men? Wasn't the fathers? It was the attention economy you created. It was created by the boomers, actually, with advertising, right? Sex sells, allegedly. Well, it does in certain circumstances. But right now, I guarantee you, the majority of support on social media is for women, by women. The majority of books are written by women and bought by women. And although, frankly, I'm not biased, but frankly, most of the time, the best authors turn out to be men. The richest authors turn out to be women. You be the judge. When 80% of book buyers are women, 80% of editors, and I would say 90% of agents right now, and I don't mean just book agencies, but agents as well, are 90% female. No, I'm not glazing George R.R. Martin, but he's considered one of the best writers in the world. He gets a tenth of what J.K. Rowling makes. And most people agree that she's mediocre at best. That she is very generic. That all her clever plots, twists, and twists and turns have all been done before, and that she's very good at compositing other stories and reskinning stories, but she's not. Yeah, that's and that is the reality. 13, prove me wrong, 13 plagiarism claims and counting. Allegedly, I am only reporting allegations that I have read on the internet, and in no way encouraging you to take any legal or moral actions against J.K. Rowling. When it comes to J.K. Rowling and the trans issue, she has found a way to gain fame. Post Harry Potter. And she is just leveraging the attention economy because that is what women are good at. Men are not very good at giving other men attention. Why? Because you're not gay. No homo. But if men have to be able to pay attention to men more than women, because that's how we pass on wisdom. That's how we pass on advice. That's how we make the world a better place. And I'm all for making the world a better place. Just scrolling through my notes here. All right, so really it's about control. Okay, before I leave, the last thing I want to do is give you the why and the how to, right? It's all part, all right, the attention economy is all about control. It's called social stability. And this is something came up within China and has been replicated around the world right now, even as we speak. You see it in Europe. Okay? What does Europe do? Do they arrest the criminal and risk a violent backlash from Africans, from Arabs? See, white people are the only race that don't riot, usually. I know Ireland. Ireland seems to be the only white nation to stand up for itself in the last 100 years. Now, I'm not saying anything they've done is right or wrong, okay? But in their eyes, and if you look around the world, the Irish are the only people who stand up for themselves as a group, not as an individual, but as a group. Women, white women, are standing up for themselves. I'm not saying whether they're right or wrong, because we all know most of the time feminism is wrong about a lot of issues. The feminism is not about making the world a better place. It's about control. Controlling choice. Right? To prove that love does not exist, Karl Marx said, take away all incentives of marriage and you'll watch women choose money every time. And I'm not saying Karl Marx is solely to blame. Karl Marx was not the instigator. He was the exploiter. He exploited the attention at the time. The struggles of the struggle, the history you have been told has been corrupted. Little bits of it still exist. Such as why Rome oppressed women. They went through a very dark period in their history, and they turned it around by oppressing women. They didn't take away all rights, but they only had the rights of man. But they also had a code of conduct towards women. And if women violated that code, by law, they were punished. Now, wasn't Christianity that took it away? It was democracy. Okay? All rights were taken away. Landowners and merchants controlled the government. British Parliament and parliaments that spread throughout the world were all based on the same model. While they did still have the rights of man, and for a while the code of chivalry and that, it all went away with democracy, with more and more revolutions and collapses of governments. But the majority of it was just plague, war, disease, not economic incompetence, but more. Again, it wasn't the governments. You look at their advisors and their bankers, and you'll suddenly go, "Oh, the noticing! I have been noticing a lot lately." Yeah, and if you notice a lot, you'll notice a lot about feminism too, and that certain groups always stand out. I wonder what gives it away. Although these days they often take to a nose job or breeding with Europeans to change their appearance. Now, a relative number of women still have and cling to, I would say about 40%, tradition, old ways. And I think this goes throughout politics and history. So don't think it's new, but the only tips I can offer you right now to survive the dark ages that we live in is limited social media. Limit your social media to your peer groups. Limit your social media to and form groups around the channels. And I don't want you to have one channel. I don't want to be the only channel in your life. I do not want you to create a monoculture. I want you to be a man of culture. And maybe I'm not against marriage. I'm not against breeding. I want us to breed. The problem is feminism. They're the ones genociding. How many of you are victims of abortion? How many of you have to wake up every day with dead kids on your mind? You might have a little bit more sympathy sometimes. Realizing how many of men out there have that. Burning them from the inside every day. What's worse, the divorced man or the man who had his kids killed? Yeah. So that old crazy old man, or that old man shuffling on his own to and from the shopping centre? Yeah. Who's the real victim? The woman or the man in society? Who's the real victim, eh? So, women asking men to make the first move? I say, fuck it. They turn around and stare at you? Yeah. Until we have the rights of man restored, let's make the world an interesting place, shall we? Together. Don't forget, one way to support the channel is my shop. empirevalves.myshopify.com, and you can see the little verification tick, so you know it's secure. Thank you for watching. Like, share and subscribe. Please support the channel. You can support me on Ko-Fi, Patreon, my UpPP Patreon, $1 a month. To just show support. Thank you. Buy my books, buy my merch. Now, all my links are in the link tree. I put it in my profile. I put it in descriptions. But you can also scan the QR code on the screen. Thank you, and see you in the next video. Bye for now.